Hello, my dear students, and welcome back. Bachcho, I know your exams are just around the corner, and the pressure must be building up. But please, don't you worry one bit. Today, we are going to charge into the Human Health and Disease chapter, and we'll do it in a way you will never ever forget. So, let's just imagine for a moment, your body isn't just a body, it's a massive battlefield. And we're about to get a front row seat to the most epic war happening inside you right this second.
Oh yes, it's absolutely true. Right now, while you're sitting there listening to me, millions and millions of tiny, invisible enemies are trying to invade your body. We call them pathogens. But before you get all worried, just remember this. You have an incredibly powerful, super intelligent army fighting for you 24/7. So are you ready to join me on a tour of this amazing internal battlefield? Let's go!
Okay, so every good army needs a very clear mission, right? So before we meet the villains and the heroes of our story, we need our mission briefing. We have to understand what exactly are we fighting to protect. And that objective, my dear students, is our health. So let's define our goal. Most people think that health just means, not being sick. But look at this definition. It's so much more than that. Think of it like a three-front war. You need to be physically strong, mentally happy and calm, and socially connected with your friends and family. When you are winning on all three fronts, that's when you are truly healthy. And when you're healthy, you can focus better on your studies, you have more energy to play, you become unstoppable. That is the victory we are fighting for.
Now, the threats to our health, they come in two main types. First, you have infectious diseases. These are like invaders that can jump from one person to another, like the common cold. Then you have non-infectious diseases, like cancer, which are more like internal battles that don't spread. For our mission today, we are going to focus on those contagious, infectious enemies.
All right, soldiers, it is time to meet the villains of our story. Let's pull up the most wanted list of these tiny troublemakers. You know what they say, to win a war, you must know your enemy.
So, the official name for these enemies is pathogens. This is a big group that includes all the bad guys. We're talking bacteria, viruses, fungi, and so many more. They are these tiny little invaders that sneak into our bodies with only one mission, to multiply like crazy and cause a whole lot of damage. And that's what makes us feel sick.
Okay, our first enemy on the list is a really notorious bacterium called Salmonella typhi. This is the main culprit that causes typhoid fever. And how does it get into our fortress? Well, usually through contaminated food and water. So you have to be very, very careful about that pani puri from the street corner.
So, the most crucial thing is recognizing the attack. A high fever that just doesn't go away, feeling super weak, stomach pain. These are the classic signs. And Bachcho, please remember the name of this test for your exam. The Weidel test is what we use to confirm typhoid. Here's a fun fact for you. There was a cook in America nicknamed Typhoid Mary who was a carrier of the disease and spread it to dozens of people just through the food she made.
Moving on to our next most wanted enemy. It's a tiny little protozoan, but it's responsible for a huge problem that we all know about, malaria. This is an ancient enemy that humanity has been battling for centuries. Now, I want you to look very closely at this slide, because Plasmodium has a very, very clever life cycle. It's a two-stage plan, you see. It needs both of us, humans, and a female Anopheles mosquito to survive. So the mosquito isn't the real enemy, it's more like the getaway driver, the vector that delivers the parasite to us. It bites us, the parasite rushes to our liver and then our red blood cells. And then, now this is the super important part. When our blood cells burst, a toxin called hemozoin is released. That toxin is what causes those famous chills and high fever and malaria. You must remember that for your exams.
Okay, enough about the enemies. Now for the best part. Let's meet our heroes, the magnificent defense force that protects us 24/7. Let's meet our body's grand army, the immune system.
You see, our army has a two-level defense strategy. And listen carefully, this is a very, very common exam question. First, we have innate immunity. Just think of this as the huge fortress wall of a castle. It's there from the moment we're born, and it stops everyone and everything. It's non-specific. Then we have acquired immunity. These are our special commandos. They are highly specific, trained to fight one particular enemy, and most importantly, they have a memory.
So let's quickly look at the 4 layers of our fortress wall. First, the physical barrier. That's our skin, which literally keeps germs out.
Second, physiological barriers. Think of the powerful acid in your stomach that just dissolves any bad bacteria in your food. Third, cellular barriers. These are like our guard cells, types of white blood cells that literally gobble up any invaders that manage to get past the walls. And finally, the cytokine barrier. This is like an alarm system. When a cell gets infected by a virus, it sends out a warning signal called interferon, telling all the other cells to prepare for an attack. An amazing system, isn't it?
Now, look at this slide. This Y-shaped molecule is the main weapon of our special commandos. It's an antibody. You can see right there in the diagram that it's made of 2 long, heavy chains and 2 short, light chains. That's why we call it H2L2. Think of them like smart missiles. They're produced by our B lymphocytes, and they lock onto specific enemies to mark them for destruction.
Now, our body's army is absolutely fantastic, but sometimes it needs a little bit of help from the outside. So, we can call for reinforcements. Let's see how we can support our immune system. So we can get immunity in 2 ways. In active immunity, our own body is trained to make the antibodies. This happens when we get sick or when we get a vaccination. It's a little slow to start, but it's very long-lasting. On the other hand, in passive immunity, we get ready-made antibodies. This gives us very fast protection. And the best example is a mother's first milk, colostrum, which is just full of antibodies to protect her newborn baby. It's like a beautiful gift of defense from a mother to her child. So how do vaccines, our biggest reinforcement, actually work? Well, it's basically like a training exercise for our army. We introduce a very weak or dead pathogen. Our body thinks it's a real invasion and starts producing antibodies, but more importantly, it creates memory cells. So if the real strong enemy ever attacks in the future, our army already has a battle plan and it destroys it immediately. You see? This links right back to that idea of memory in our acquired immunity.
Reinforcements are great, but our daily tactics matter just as much. We can all be good soldiers in this battle, every single day. Simple things like washing our hands, eating clean food, that's your first line of defense. And to fight enemies like malaria and dengue, we have to attack their transport, the mosquitoes. So, don't let water collect in coolers or old tires. Use mosquito nets. These small actions are how we win the war on a daily basis.
Okay, bachcho. Revision time is over. Now for the real test. Let's practice a few really important questions from this chapter. Get ready to score full marks.
All right, here is a typical 2-mark exam question for you. What is passive immunization? Give an example. I want you to just pause for a moment and try to answer this yourself. Think about those ready-made antibodies we just talked about. Ready? Okay, let's check the answer.
Here is exactly how you should write the answer. Point 1, passive immunization is when ready-made antibodies are given directly. Point 2, it provides fast but short-term protection. And for examples, you can write about colostrum in mother's milk or the anti-venom injection given for a snake bite. See? Simple and to the point.
Okay, next question is a little more conceptual. Why are B and T lymphocytes the soldiers of acquired immunity? What is it that makes them our special commandos? I want you to think about their key features. Pause and try to list the reasons.
And here's what your perfect answer should include. Point 1, they are highly specific, which means each soldier fights only one type of enemy. Point 2, B cells are the weapon factories, producing that huge army of antibodies. Point 3, T cells are the commanders that help the B cells do their job. And the most important point of all, they create a memory of the enemy, which is the defining feature of acquired immunity.
So, we've toured the battlefield, we've met the enemies, and we have celebrated our amazing army. The final and most important slide is this question for you. What is one simple habit you will start from today to help your body's army? It could be something as simple as washing your hands before eating. Think about it, because this battle is real, and you are the commander-in-chief. All the very best for your exams, my dear students. I know you will all do wonderfully.